Welcome to the 2021 garden. The backyard. These birds want me to fill the feeder, but I'm not gonna. So here we have some ornamental flowers, a zucchini squash, and a big beef hybrid tomato, and a husky cherry red tomato. These might be planted too close to each other. We don't know yet. In the south box we have plants from last year mostly, but we have this little plant that was a starter from one of our neighbors. We don't know if that's going to grow yet. That big thing is the thymus. It's growing a little bit better this year. It survived through the winter. This giant plant. And here we're featuring some new plants down here that are getting ready to bloom. Snapdragons, and there's poppy, and then there's also these two hollyhocks. I don't know how the seeds got here because that's not where I planted them. And here's a few more of those starters from our neighbors. Not sure if that's going to work. And then this is new. We have a lavender plant. And then in the grandma's garden we have our usual wildflowers that seem to come and go. But this year something new has happened, and we have our irises. So these plants have multiplied a lot. And finally we're getting tons and tons of irises. So that's really cool. So that is new this year in the grandma garden. Also in the backyard is these may or may not be very tall sunflowers that I may have taken seeds from in Paonia last year. And over here we have a lovely assortment of columbines. These columbines were planted in these boxes. However, some of these have jumped out of the boxes. Interestingly, some of the ones that have jumped out of the boxes are different colors than in the boxes. Another type of, I think, iris in there, and that takes a little bit longer to come out. But look at all these columbines, bazillions of them. Okay, so in the grape box we have a lot of the wildflowers and these other plants that seem to stay alive over our winters. And so we have a bunch of wildflowers that are waiting to come out. The grapes are coming out already. So this grapevine is going nuts, and it's taking over the other box. And there's wildflowers in this box. I believe this might be a poppy whose seeds I may have borrowed from Boulder. And this is another hollyhock, and there's another hollyhock back there. Interestingly, they don't grow well in this box. So something else new this year is this honeysuckle. Actually, it was new last year, and it did really well, but we got this metal thing from, I think, Menards in Des Moines, Iowa, and it's doing really well. This box had a lupine, and the lupine died, but there are a couple of more lupine or lupin coming up. This box had a something, Mesa Peach. That doesn't seem to be coming up again, so we'll see what happens. Also new this year, we put some just flowers in some pots to put on this bench that we don't use for a bench. This was one of the experimental squares of seeds that were gotten from other places, and one plant has survived, and looks like there's more seeds coming up. So this is a new plant this year. It's a peony. There's actually multiple peonies in this clump. The hibiscus used to be in here, but that only lived for that season. We didn't get a hibiscus that was tolerant to our cold temperatures, so there's that. I'm not filling the bird feeder. Our blue spruce tree is getting bigger, and the top of it looks like it's at the bottom of the little fence that we have between us and our neighbors. So that's getting taller and bigger and fatter. There used to be a lot of poppies in here. I'm not sure what's going on. I planted more poppies in here, but nothing's happening in this box lately. So we'll see what happens. Okay, so there are supposed to be other plants at the bottom here, but they probably died. Well, I'm sure they died, but they'll probably reseed themselves. Otherwise, this smells really good. We got roses from a neighbor and planted one of their roses, and it looks like there's a lot of seeds coming up also. Those might be poppies from several years ago. This plant we had last year was an extra plant, but it survived over the winter, and looks like there's probably some other seeds that are germinating down here from what I threw down just to see what would grow. This was another experimental box with mostly Colorado temperature tolerant flowers and plants, including there's 2 hollyhocks, some snapdragons, and some other things. These all have survived and remained green through the winter and are just now growing a lot. Here's another pair of sunflowers that may or may not have been gotten from, I think it's Palisade, not Peonian. Our maple tree continues to do well, and it's got some nice leaves on it, just like the maple trees in our neighbors' yards. So that's good. It's doing well. So this box, let me see. I don't know what kind of plants these main plants are, but there's definitely some poppies in here because they're easy to grow. This is another Colorado tolerant, temperature tolerant box. There's hollyhock, snapdragons, and probably poppies in here as well. So this is a I think purple or maybe a red rose, and it's doing well this year. So this is part of our salsa garden. We have a red bell pepper as well as a green pepper, and probably a pair of flowering plants because that's what was in there last year, and they're probably just growing from their seeds. The salsa garden continues. We have a jalapeno pepper and a jalapeno pepper, so a heatless jalapeno. Looks like there are some peppers already coming up, or being made at least, so hopefully this year we'll have some more peppers compared to last year. This is our sad little rose. I'm not sure it made it through the winter. May have cut it down too much too early. I think these are Japanese lilies again, or Japanese lilies. And you can see that there are many Japanese lilies just cooking. This plant has done well over the years. It just keeps on coming back as long as we keep the rabbits off of it. It looks like there's nothing in here, but there are calla lilies in here, and they faithfully come up every year, so hopefully they'll continue to keep coming up. The second rose that we got from our neighbor. Our Aspen Tree continues to do really well. It sent up several new aspen trees since we've planted it, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And it's a good little area of aspens. So this tree has been resurrected. It died completely a few years ago, and then I cut the trunk off of it, and a year later, a whole year later, it started growing, sending up new shoots. So this tree is crazy. Really pretty colors during the fall, but continues to do well, not diseased. So this year we put a pot and we put a rose bush in here. We think it'll do well here, and put an irrigation line to it too. So that looks cute going into our backyard. So like last year, we have this container, and we filled it with some extra ornamental flowers. There is a nest in our light, so our container is multiplied from last year, and we bought a couple of just haphazard looking containers. This plant we got from a neighbor. Moving on, we have our 4 little containers over there. It's growing grass because this was the cat grass I was growing for boots, and I reused that dirt. So that's what's in here, and you can hear the 2 sparrows calling each other. And now we're inside. We have a new plant. We don't know what this is, but it's been getting bigger pretty fast, so we'll find out soon enough. And here we have a ficus tree that is pretty little, but we have high hopes. We have a Meyer lemon plant tree, aloe plant, which we got from IKEA a few years ago, and it continues to grow. Basil plant. This is a fern. This is the newest member of our plant family.